everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make these items for your dolls. They can be adapted to fit any doll, but these are on Bratz dolls. So first we've got this top. It can be an off the shoulder top or it can be an on the shoulder top, it's up to you. We've got this pair of leggings or tights. We've got this top and skirt, and we've got these leg warmers or socks. So all of those items were made, apart from the skirt which was made from a scrap of t-shirt material, the rest of the items were made from these socks. Now these socks I got from my local Primark and they were 3 pairs for £2. So basically just under 70p a pair. And this pair of socks in particular have got a frill around the top, which is why this top's got a frill around it, and it's got a ribbed fabric here and a plain fabric here. So the first thing we're going to do is to make the leggings. I'm going to make them in grey because it shows up better on the camera than the black does. So the first thing we need to do is cut out the heel of the sock. You can just see where the heel ends here. We need to cut across there and we need to cut across here because we don't need that part. And for this tutorial, to make all of these items, you will need your sock, you'll need a needle and thread, and I'm using Velcro and a glue gun. The glue gun is optional, you can sew, you don't have to use the glue gun. So the first thing we're going to do is cut the heel of this sock out because we don't need that part. It's because of the shape of it, it doesn't, we can't use it for anything, so cut off the heel. There you are. So you can see that where the heel was, I've just literally just cut that out. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut the toe part off. You can see where the toe goes along here and along here. I'm just going to cut up here and across there to cut that piece off because we're not going to use that either. So cut along the seam at the front, and then there's a line at the back there where it changes from being straight to curved. And the next thing I'm going to do is to cut the plain piece of fabric off this bit here because I'm going to use this bit to make the leggings with. So rather than cut through both layers of fabric, I'm going to cut it like this because it actually goes further one way than it does the other. So cut that all the way up to the heel part and then cut it at the other end too. So actually what I've got is a rectangle of stretchy fabric, stretchy knit fabric. So if you wanted to make this for a bigger doll, your piece would need to be bigger. Your rectangle would need to be bigger. The first thing we're going to do is lay your doll on the fabric, the right side of the fabric up, lay your doll onto it. Make sure that the top of the fabric is around her waist where you want your trousers to finish. So I've got mine up to her waist like that. And then you need to sew from the waist down to just past her bottom. So I'm going to mark here just past her bottom, which is just there. You can mark it with a pin or with some tailor's chalk, and I'm going to sew from the waistband down to just past her bottom on that piece of material. It doesn't have to be sock material, it could be t-shirt material, as long as it's stretchy and it doesn't fray. You can use any fabric. If the fabric doesn't stretch though, it won't fit properly, so do make sure that your fabric has some stretch in it. So for example, if you had an old t-shirt or an old baby vest or anything like that that you wanted to use the fabric for, that would be fine. And you would do the same thing. You would measure it around your doll and you would measure it from the waist to the ankle, that's how long you want it to be. And that's how big your rectangle of fabric would have to be, from the waist to the ankle in length and around her hips in width. So I'm doing back stitch, which is where you go backwards to the stitch you've just finished and then out in front of the thread again. So back to the stitch I've just finished, out in front of the thread again, and carry on until you've got to your mark which is just past your doll's bottom. So on a bigger doll that would be a longer seam. Now when you've done that, finish off, which is a couple of stitches like this on top of each other, and then pull your stitch until it's nearly done and put your needle through the loop twice, 1, 2, and then pull that tight and that'll form a knot. Cut off your thread and you're left with this. You're left with a tube that is stitched down to here and open to the bottom, and what we're going to do is hold your fabric like this, and we're going to cut along this edge here. So you've got your seam there, and we're going to cut until it matches the bottom of our stitching. We're going to cut so that it's closed on this side and this side to the bottom of the stitching. So we're going to cut just up to there where the stitching would end if it was on that side, level with the stitching. So make sure you match it up, get your seam straight, and then cut along your seam until you're matching the bottom of your stitching. So there we are. And now what you need to do is, you've got two flaps like this, and what you're going to do is match them up like this to make the legs. So this is where the ankle's going to be, and we're going to stitch all the way along to where her bottom is, and then from where her bottom is down the other leg to the ankle the other side. So I'll go away and do that and then I'll come back. Okay, so I'm back and I finished sewing up the legs part of our legging. So this is the part we sewed up from the waist to the bottom, the bit that we measured around her. Then we cut on the other seam all the way up to match this side. Then we joined both seams together at each side to make two little tubes for the legs. And now what we need to do is pop them on her inside out. So I've got them on inside out, and the next thing we're going to do, this bit actually is optional, you don't have to do this if you're not worried about the bottom of your trousers being finished off. We're just going to turn over the edge slightly like that, and we're just going to catch it all the way around just to hold that edge over and just to make it look a bit neater. Like I say, this part is optional, you don't have to do this bit, the trousers will work perfectly well without doing this. This bit will just make them look a bit tidier. So I'm just doing little tiny stitches just all the way around the edge just to hold that bottom bit over. And I'm going to do that on both legs. Okay, so I've done both legs the same, just turn them over a little bit, just sew little stitches all the way around the edge just to hold that over. So then we take them off, put them the right way out, put them back on again. Make sure you put your seam at the back, pop them on her. So there are the leggings. She's got her leggings on and they look fine. Look at those, really happy with those. Like I say, I'm using black thread. Normally I would use grey, but I'm using black so that you can see where I'm stitching and what I'm doing. So the next thing I'm going to do is make this top. So to make that top, we'll go back to our sock, and this is what we've got left of our sock so far. And the bit I'm going to cut off now is this bit here. So I'm going to cut straight up here so that we're left with just this seam straight down here. I'm going to cut straight up here, carry on cutting from here up to the top, cut through the lace as well. There we are. and this is the bit we want, this piece here. And all I'm going to do is turn it inside out and sew up that seam all the way along there. And for once again, I'm using back stitch, so go back, out in front of your thread, back to where your last stitch finished, and then out in front of your thread all the way along until you've gone all the way up the back there. Don't sew through the lace though, just sew through the actual sock part if your one happens to have lace on it. And I do think that if you use the whole top of your sock, it would probably fit maybe an 18-inch doll. And I do think this top would fit a Barbie as well as a Bratz doll. So it should also fit a Liv doll, it might fit a Moxie teen, it should fit a Moxie girl. Because it's stretchy, it should fit, you know, anything that's roughly that size. It should fit all of the fashionistas, I would have thought. But for the leggings, you would have to adapt the length and the width of them to match the length you wanted them and the width around your doll's hips. For this top, it just needs to go around your doll's chest. So there we are, I've sewn that all the way up, just doing my finishing stitches now. So 1, 2, and then through the loop twice. 1, 2, pull it tight and cut it off. And this is what you're left with. You're left with a little tube with your lace at the top. So then we're going to turn it to the right way out, and you'll notice that your lace will lay down flat along the top there because we haven't sewn that. And now what we're going to do is make sure that your seam is at the back in the middle. That's going to be the middle of your doll's back. And then we need to make some little cuts for the arms to go through, and we're going to make those just below the lace on each side, and it needs to be only a tiny little cut because it's stretch fabric. You know, if you cut it too big, it'll grow, and you don't want that to happen. So make sure, like I say, that your seam is at the back in the middle. You hold it up like this and you just cut 2 little cuts just below the lace, a little tiny snip like that. There we are. And then we can put it on her. So here's your little arm bits, and that's where your arms are going to go through. So pull this one off her. So put her arms through like this, through the slots like that. Slot her arms through the little holes, and like I say, don't cut those holes too big because they can soon be too big, and you'll end up having to stitch them back closed again. So pull that up onto her, and she can have it up around her neck like that. I just got a label there. Or she can have it off the shoulder like this for evening wear. You probably wouldn't put those leggings and that top together, but just for demonstration purposes. There she is. She looks great. That top is so versatile. It could go with so many things. I love it. I really do like that top. So that's that top done. Now the next thing we're going to do is the little leg warmers here. So we're left with this piece of material here. And to make the leg warmers, actually if you wanted to, you could at this point make a dress. And to make a dress you would do exactly the same as you did for the top, but instead of cutting it off here, you'd cut it off however long you wanted your dress to be. And then literally just sew up the back, cut your little slits and pop her arms through. We're now going to make our leg warmers, so we need to measure how long we want them to be and leave a little bit to turn over at each end. So it needs to be just above there. So we need to cut it across there like that. So I've measured against my doll's leg, and I've left a little bit to turn up at the top and a little bit to turn up at the bottom, and this piece of sock here will make 2 leg warmers. So match your seam up at the side there cut your fabric in half so that you've got 2 pieces for your 2 leg warmers. Mine isn't very straight across the bottom. I'm just going to cut it straight across there. So now what we need to do is, I'm going to sew it actually on the doll. That's the easiest way to do it. Pop her skirt off and pop her top off. Although she can keep her top on, I think. Yeah, so wrap your fabric around her leg to the back like this, and I'm just going to over sew. And to over sew, make sure you've got a knot in the end of your cotton, and we're going to just join this seam up together at the back here. I'll do one and you'll see then how to do them both. So start at the bottom and we're going to over sew. So sew, and then we go over the top of the fabric and back through again. Just little stitches all the way up, but big enough to make sure that the seam's not going to gape open and come undone. So this is what we're doing. We're doing it all the way up the leg, through both pieces of material, pull it tight, over again and through both pieces of material, pull it tight all the way to the top. It doesn't take a lot of doing, it really doesn't. There we go. And then what we need to do is turn the top over just a little bit, like we did with our leggings. Turn it over a tiny bit and stitch around there, just to hold it in position and to tidy it up a bit. This bit again is optional, you don't need to do this bit really, but if you want it to look neat and have a tidy edge, this is the way to do it. And these can be used as socks or leg warmers. They'd be good for leg warmers on the dance dolls, wouldn't they? But you could do them in any sock fabric to make socks with. As long as the fabric is stretchy, you can do it, and you don't need much at all, do you, to make socks? You can make them shorter, you can make them longer. It's up to you what length you decide you want them. I'm just doing my finishing stitch there. And then we do the same at the bottom. Just turn it over a tiny bit all the way round and catch it with your cotton to hold it over, just to make sure it's nice and neat. So little stitches in there all the way round. And all we do is pop it off, turn it through and pop it back on again. Make sure you have your seam at the back. Like I say, you can see the stitching on mine because I'm using black so that you can see what I'm doing better. And ordinarily you would use grey thread so you wouldn't see your stitches. So that's the one done. I'm going to go on and do the other one now. So that's her socks done. So the next thing we're going to do is her little skirt, and to do her skirt you need a piece of fabric that measures from your doll's waist down to the length you want it to be. That's how wide it needs to be. That's how long it needs to be, sorry, not wide. And it needs to be as wide as her hips. So make sure it'll go round her hips, and then you can cut it off So my fabric, I'm going to turn it inside out so that the inside bit is facing her. Layer on it and bring it around her, and it needs to go around her hips at the widest. That's the widest part of her. And we're going to sew about halfway up at the back here. I'm going to make a seam about halfway up. So take it off her once you've made sure it's the right size, and then sew halfway up using back stitch. So make sure I've got a knot in the end of my thread. And this is it's stretch cotton, this fabric is. It's like t-shirt material, or the t-shirt you make like little babies' leggings out of. That's what I've used it for. It's left over from making some babies' leggings. Any material will do for this, but if you get a material that frays, you will have to allow a bit to turn up at the bottom and a bit to turn over at the top, and all you would do then is just turn it over and stitch it so that it doesn't fray all the way around. So halfway we're going to do back stitch, halfway up this seam. Doesn't want to be too tight, but you don't want it too loose either. You want it to, I want it to be a fitted skirt, so back, and then back out in front of your thread, back to where the stitch finished, back out in front of your thread, all the way up to halfway. So I've sewed halfway up from the bottom to the middle. Now what we need to do is put it around our doll again, so pop it on her inside out again, and we need to measure it around her waist. And I found that her waist comes to there like that, and we need to leave a little bit for the Velcro to go on, and we need to cut it in a curve from where you finish stitching up to the waist, and you need to like cut off that triangular bit there so that it goes narrower at the waist. So here we are. So that bit there fits around her waist, just here, and then we've gone out and down like that, and now I'm going to put Velcro on this bit here to fasten it. So I only need a little bit of Velcro, snip that off there. Turn the skirt through so it's the right way out. And we need one piece of Velcro on the inside and one piece on the outside. A piece of paper so I don't mess up my already messed up tablecloth. So, bit of glue on the back. You can always stitch this on, you don't have to glue it, you can stitch it into position. I just find it so much easier to glue it. It's not easy to stitch because it is quite thick stuff to sew through. It's not easy. Children, don't use a glue gun without adult supervision because you'll burn yourself. I know that because I always burn myself with a glue gun, always. So we need one piece on the inside and one piece on the outside. Always remember that. You want it to wrap over, you need one bit on the inside and one bit on the outside. Your Velcro. Glue the other piece. Put that into position. So there we are, I've got my Velcro. One piece on the outside, one piece on the inside, and it'll close like this around the doll's waist. And there's our little skirt, so let's pop that on her. We'll pop that on this doll because I'm going to show you how to make the top on the other doll in a minute. And that's your skirt made. It's as simple as that. Like I say, if you use a fabric that frays, you'll have to turn over the top and the bottom so that it doesn't fray. But if you use a fabric like this that doesn't fray, you don't need to do that. So this is all done. Cute little panda skirt that is. Looks cute in that, doesn't she? So now I'm going to show you the last thing, and that is this top here. This halter neck top, and this is a no-sew top, so that's even a bigger bonus. So let's take this one off her. It's tied at the back here. So where's our bit of sock that we're left with? Here we are. So what you need to do is measure your doll how long you want it. So you need to measure from a neck to a waist. That's where you need to measure. From a neck to where you want it to go. And I want mine to go to there. So I'm going to cut that off across there like that. That's where I've measured to. No sewing involved in this. And now to make the straps and the neck, you need to cut like this, about 1/2 inch, almost to the middle, but not all the way to the middle. You cut all the way to the middle, you'll just cut that top off, and that's not what you want to do. You want these to be the straps. And then we cut the neck part out by cutting a little triangle just here like this. Just literally cut off a little triangle. So you're left with a piece of fabric that looks like this. You've done your cuts each side here, and you've got your little triangle bit cut out there. And now we're going to attach Velcro at the back, one piece on the inside and one piece on the outside. This is non-fray fabric, so it's fine, and it's stretchy, so it'll be fitted to her, it'll fit around her. I suppose you could do it with cotton fabric, but you'd have to make sure you made your straps longer. You might have to perhaps sew a piece of ribbon to the middle or something like that. So attaching my Velcro to the back, one bit in the outside, one bit on the inside. Like I say, you don't have to glue it, you can sew it. I just like to glue it for quickness, and because, like I say, Velcro's not easy to stitch through. So then we pop the top on, and to do that you wrap it around her, do it up at the back with your Velcro, and then with these bits here you simply tie it around her neck. That's all you need to do. There we are. So there's the top. We'll pop her skirt back on as well. And that's it. So we've got these two outfits for our dolls. We've got the fancy top with the panda skirt and the leggings. Actually, I remember I already had one skirt made. And we've got this halter neck top, which is completely no-sew, with the skirt and the leg warmers. So I hope that's useful to someone. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.